would you let me take a picture from the corner so I can tweet this later? Is that okay? I'll be quick about it. So I'm trying to think what will be the greatest appearance of dominance. So how about can I take it from either side here? Do you mind? You know why I can do this and not be embarrassed? Because I'm American and you expect me to do stuff like this. Yeah? Okay, so just like we see in Karsten's pictures, I know it's early in the morning, but this is a German thing, your hands up, smiling, right? Happy, engaged to be here, right? Right? Spaghetti, right? Oh, I have to pano. Sorry, I got to pano. This is too much, right? Right? Sorry, try again. Ready? Eins, zwei, drei. Yes, smiling, happy. Oh, this is fantastic. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Oracle Safe Harbor Statement. I'm not going to explain this anymore. You've seen it before. My name's Joel. I've been involved with Oracle Application Express since its beginnings in 1999, and I'm very delighted to be here. I've never been to Apex Connect before, and I think it's just a great honor to be here in Germany after all these years. I was trying to recall the first time that I engaged with the German community, and it was when the DOA conference was in Mannheim. And I remember the HTML-DB workshops even back then. So I know conferences like this just don't happen by themselves, and that's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of money. And so really just, I'm very grateful to be here in this opportunity. I have on my Twitter profile and on my blog what my passion in life is. And I'm not necessarily focused just on Apex. I'm focused on customers being satisfied and productive and really flourishing with the Oracle database and Oracle technology. And my goal in life is to enable our customers to be rock stars with the Oracle database and Oracle Application Express and Oracle technology. So nothing makes me feel more proud, happier, than when customers, internal and external, say, I delivered this for my company, or I got a raise, or I got a promotion. That's really gratifying. It isn't about technology, it's about making people successful, and that's what I really like about Apex and our technology. There's an organization in the United States, NIST, the National Institute of Science and Technology, and it's a division of the Department of Commerce in the U.S. federal government. And they have an often quoted definition of cloud computing that they published back in 2011. And some of the attributes of cloud computing that they defined were on-demand self-service, right? I want to be able to get access to some service and get it right now. I want to have broad network access from any device, anywhere. I want to be able to have this in a multi-tenant environment, be able to pool a number of resources, whether it be network or hardware or operating system or database software, into a multi-tenant environment. I want to be able to scale this, and as well I want to be able to measure this type of service. This is NIST definition back in 2011. And it's still very much applicable today, and people reference this all the time as, you want to understand what cloud computing is? Here we go. NIST also has a definition of what they call platform as a service, and I'm not going to read every line here to you, but it is the ability for a customer to be able to take an application and deploy it somewhere into the cloud. And the customer doesn't have to necessarily control the infrastructure, manage the infrastructure, but they can control their applications and their availability and their settings and the like. That's platform as a service. That's the definition via NIST. So if we go back to Computer World from June 2002, this was when a colleague and I were in Denmark at Oracle Open World, and this was the announcement of marvel.oracle.com, which became htmldb.oracle.com, which became today's apex.oracle.com. And the quote was, Project Marvel allows developers to create web service applications on a browser with Oracle resources from a hosted service, from 2002. So what conclusion can we possibly reach from this? One, Application Express was cloud in 2002. And more importantly, Application Express was a PaaS, was a platform as a service back in 2002. Let's fast forward to today. So last fall, 2016, Gartner, the industry analyst, published a guide for high productivity, rapid application development tools. Forrester calls this low code, Gartner calls this high productivity, and a representative vendor in this was Oracle with Application Express. And it's funny to see how industry analysts have looked at Apex in the past, sometimes have not written so lovingly of Apex, but they were putting it in the wrong box. They were comparing it to a completely different tool set. And now we look at where we're at today, and this is in vogue. People like to do this. This is modern. This is current. Not only is it cloud, for years we've been saying Application Express is declarative. You can tell we're computer geeks because we came up with the word declarative. Not that sexy, but low code, high productivity, that's what resonates with people. And it makes sense. So there's a website out there, apex.oracle.com/low-code, and this will cover exactly what we're going to go through today. And there are many benefits of low code, of a framework. I like to quote Jürgen Schuster, who's the father of the Apex stickers. I've seen many of them around here. And as he always says, there is a cost associated with every line of code. Every line of code, whether it be JavaScript or PL/SQL or CSS or HTML, every additional line of code you write, there is a cost associated with creating that and maintaining that. So a way to reduce cost is a way ultimately to reduce code, you reduce your cost in the short term and the long term. So we've called it declarative development. And what are some of the benefits of this? Well, there are a lot of mundane tasks in building web applications. We have created applications with nothing but PL/SQL before there was ever a framework, and there's a lot of, I would say, boring housework you have to do to write your own web application, whether it be session state, whether it be security. You have to do this over and over and over again. And wouldn't it be better, instead of having to author this every time, to push this down into the framework? So you don't have to worry about the mundane aspects of building a web application. You can focus on the business problem at hand. Another nice thing about less code is you get greater consistency across an application, whether that be from a user interface aspect, whether it be from a security. The less code you write and the more you put into the framework, the greater consistency and higher quality you get out of the application. Another fascinating thing we'll see is that you're able to modernize your applications really by effectively doing nothing other than upgrading the underlying framework. So you can take advantages of new capabilities without effectively having to write a single line of code. And the nice thing you get with Application Express, as I'm sure everybody here is well aware, is you get these higher level components that you don't necessarily have to author yourself. It's about taking these high level components like an interactive report and simply exploiting this in your application. So is this RAD development? Is this high productivity? Is this low code? The answer is yes to all of them. So the market is becoming a bit crowded now, where Application Express was really just on its own back in, effectively, 2001, 2002. We can see if the industry analysts are recognizing this, there's also additional competition. And the thing you have to be careful about with these low-code solutions is if you have an utterly declarative environment, all I can do is twist this knob and check this box and enter my label. It's very structured, but it's also very limiting. And there can be no declarative environment that's going to absolutely satisfy every application requirement. It's unless you have completely simplistic application requirements, at some point in time, you're going to have to go outside the box. You're going to have to do something outside the framework. So that's where we go from no code to low code. Gartner calls the reverse of this, they don't say high code, they say high control. So if I want absolutely exact control over my application, rather than be constrained by this framework, I want to have absolute control. And so I can write in Java, in PHP, I can write my entire application. But if we look at this spectrum, this continuum here, it's fascinating because most environments can take you from beautiful, WYSIWYG, completely declarative, to now I want to do something different, and I fall off the cliff. And I'm writing code, and that's not my domain. So I go from beautiful WYSIWYG here to writing tons of JavaScript, and I'm not a JavaScript developer. And so you want to enable a progressive transition of complexity for greater control. Sure, you're going to get more complex, but you don't want to fall off the cliff. So a great example of this in Application Express, this gradual transition. And there's this facility in Application Express called Authorization Schemes. It's something I can define in Apex that I can then apply elsewhere in my application to say, can I see something or can I do something, right? So in the creation of an authorization scheme, we have the possibility to say it's completely declarative. I choose this type, I choose what item I have, and a value. So when the item, this session state item equals X, do something. But I can extend this just a little bit further. So I don't want to be completely declarative. I might want to add a snippet of code. I don't want to write a huge module, just a small amount of code that says, hey, if the user's Joel, then return true, otherwise return false. Or I can have absolute control, and I'm sure Bryn would be very happy with this. I would put everything in a very complicated and sophisticated PL/SQL package that absolutely answers all of my application requirements. And now I have this option as well. So I've gone from completely declarative to a little bit to a lot. It's really up to you, and it's very gradual. And if we look at this spectrum of all the things that you want to do in a web application, you really have to ask yourself, is this something that I can go from absolutely declarative, not writing a single line of code or writing a little bit of SQL, to a little bit to a lot? And really, if you understand Application Express itself, it really supports this entire spectrum. From I'm not a coder, I'm a citizen developer, and all I want to do is choose my table, click against my report, and away I go. Versus if I'm creating a custom application, I want to have complete control, and I can write as much code as I want, whether that be HTML or CSS or PL/SQL or SQL, doesn't matter. And so it's interesting to look at the evolution of Application Express, and I know that Mike probably presented something similar to this a year ago. And if we look at the underlying framework of Apex, it really has evolved over time. So this was HTMLDB 1.5, this was back in 2004. And if we progress through every one of the years and every one of the releases, we'll see that more and more functionality has been added to the Application Express framework. If we look at back in APEX 3.0, we introduced flash charts. We went from custom homegrown SVG charts to Flash, which this was back when Flash was cool. And then we eventually replaced these, where we're at today with our jet charts in Application Express 5.1. So if we look at the progression, the underlying framework has evolved as technology and the industry has evolved. And what's great about building an Application Express, I believe, is, again, you put the complexity down on the framework, and effectively, you let your applications live longer. They can exploit new technologies without you having to do, effectively, any work. So if we take a look at web browser popularity over time, and I tried to go back to 2008, I couldn't find that chart on StatCounter. But if we look in 2009, the beginning of 2009, Internet Explorer was far and away the most popular web browser on the planet. And you can see it's just been a huge drop-off in that use. Chrome, Firefox, Safari, you can see they've gone up, and as well if you look at the distinction between mobile versus desktop, it's just been an astronomical rise in this usage. Clearly not engaging somebody here, okay? So in 2008, the iPhone was 1 year old. IE7 was the most popular browser on the planet. And Chrome 1.0 came out that year. That was the technology landscape at the time. Also in 2008, this was before we had embedded packaged applications in Application Express, we had a website out there on the Oracle Technology Network. And this was the precursor to package applications. And we let people download these packages, unzip it, and import it into your Application Express workspace, and away you go. This was the genesis of packaged applications. We have since taken the site down a long time ago, since we started delivering these applications in Application Express itself. But one of these applications is this issue tracker from 2008. One of these links here was issue tracker, download it, import it into your workspace, and away you go. 2008, technology has dramatically changed in the past 9 years, and this screenshot that I'm showing you is I recently imported this on apex.oracle.com today. So the same application that we made available in 2008, I imported on apex.oracle.com, created my objects, ran my application, and away I go. So some people look at this and they say, well, big deal, right? I can write a C program, and a C program that I wrote back in 2008 is going to compile today just fine. But this is internet technology. This should be measured in dog years, right? What do they say? 1 dog year is 7 human years. Well, I mean, to me, it's amazing that an application that was first created in 2008 still runs and looks and feels exactly the same. And I look at the failure of a number of technologies where across major revisions, they basically say, sorry, no path forward, you have to rewrite to capitalize on this. And our focus has been, that's unplanned cost for you, the customer. That's something that you may not have time for or budget for. And so really, to us, it is paramount that an application written in 2008 still runs and looks and feels exactly as it does today. Why can we do this? Because we push all this complexity into the framework. We take the burden of, will this work properly in IE8 or Chrome 2.0? That's our job. Your job is simply to build the business applications. And if we look at where we've gone from, now this doesn't seem that long, from 2008, from this list of applications on an OTN website to download versus what's embedded in Application Express today, it's night and day. And it's always interesting to look at a contrast just how much sophistication has happened in this short amount of time. So when we contrast the closest competitor I could find that we deliver in Apex today, this incident tracking package application, and we compare it to this SAN-based theme issue tracker from 2008, it's extraordinary. It's responsive. We have these beautiful jet charts. We have very elegant navigation. The UI is just dramatically improved. And so what you've been able to do in your applications over that amount of time, it's progressed very rapidly. So we have a little joke inside Oracle between me and my boss, Mike Hitchwa, and we'll send a message around. If we come across, we just stumble across yet another Apex app. So there will be some URL sent out, and Mike will send me a message saying, hey, yet another Apex app. Just come across this. And I'm not shy to admit that Application Express dominates application development at Oracle. It utterly dominates. And it's used by effectively every line of business inside the company. Every line of business. Oracle's a business just like every other. We have human resources, we have legal, we have manufacturing and distribution. And the company runs on Application Express. So I presented this in a similar fashion a couple weeks ago in Montreal, and Francis will recognize I grabbed a whole new set of Apex applications. He's never even seen these before. It was a completely different set. And just before this conference, Mark Ziefs sent me a message saying, here's another Apex application. So some business problem, the employees in Oracle Germany might need a reference letter for some purpose and based upon their title. So somebody, I'm not even sure who, wrote an Apex application in German for exactly this purpose. I'm not even sure why I would contact these people, but somebody in the payroll division, rather than responding to emails, said, hey, let's actually manage this in a database application. So somebody in payroll wrote the online payroll query template. If you have some question about, I don't know, you're not being paid. My boss got a link to fill out an application for the global tax survey. Again, I'm not even sure why this is or why these people need this information, but this is not computer scientists. These are business people building these applications. Our own manufacturing and distribution, they have a self-service portal. And it's interesting to note that last year, you actually had to, if you wanted to go to the Oracle Open World show, previously you would go to California. If you were an employee and you were working the demo grounds, you had to get in line and get a shirt, so everybody wears the Oracle black shirts. And now people order them in advance through an Apex application. My vice president is a pixel-perfect kind of guy. Shakib Rahman, our UI design lead, he's a pixel-perfect kind of guy. I'm utterly not that person. I can look at a web page, at a web application, and I can think that everything is completely done. It's ready to go. We're ready to ship. And Mike or Shakib or even Mark, they'll look at it and they'll find 1,000 things wrong with it, whether it be through the layout or button position or labeling or, I needed 2 pixels of padding and not 1. But it's fascinating to come across people who have such a keen eye for that, and to me, I just completely miss it. And the one thing, this was my introduction, I just simply wanted to talk about Font APEX. And this is a collection of fonts created by our team, effectively created by Shakib and our graphic artist, Bob Daly. And they started down this path of taking all the icons in Font Awesome and recreating them so they're better. And I asked Shakib, I said, I think this is a grand waste of time and money. It's there, people use it, it's fine. I think you're wasting the company's money. And he thought about it a second, and he could not have disagreed more. Just thought I was just completely mad. And they created not only a replacement for Font Awesome, but additional icons which weren't part of Font Awesome, and included icons which are very appropriate for business applications. So I think at the time, Font Awesome was maybe 600 icons, and we produced 1,000, and this was basically my excuse to be able to show the site apex.oracle.com/UT. So I will go here right now, and if I go to apex.oracle.com/UT, UT stands for Universal Theme, so this is the UI for Application Express. And if you want to understand what you can do with the Universal Theme, you can get an overview of the design. You can browse all of the components that are available in the Universal Theme. So in the past, we delivered themes with Application Express, and you basically had to guess what it was going to look like or go through this cycle of trial and error. Let's try this one, let's try that one. And here you can get a complete list of everything that's available to you in the Universal Theme and how you can control the UI. Also, this application itself is installable in your workspace. So the Universal Theme sample application is there. We just provide a link to it. And if we look at the Font APEX icons, you can browse all of the icons here. You'll see, let's say if we look for what's here with database, right, might want to use that in a business application. And there are modifiers for each one of these as well. Tell me if you can't see this. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. So here's my icon. Let's say I want to make this 4x. So you can see the modifiers of the CSS class. Let's say I want to make this shaking, and I want to add a modifier that says, what's the exclamation? Oh, I'm down here. Right. So if you easily want to exploit these in your application, you can come to this icon builder or button builder and get exactly the CSS classes that you might want to use in Apex. So let's talk about the way forward, if we can. Over the past year, there was a gentleman on my team. He unfortunately got the commission to develop a curriculum for Application Express. And there's a clear need for people who know and understand Application Express. I look at some of the companies like In Some Solutions, for example. They have the ability to attract and hire young kids out of college and university. And they really have done a lot of work in this area to work with universities and try to educate them on Apex. And the thing that we hear more and more from our customers is Apex is great, but it's hard to find qualified people. So I'm going to go hire this JavaScript developer over here. And the way that we engage these people is through university education. And Application Express itself is taught at a number of universities throughout the world, but it's really thanks to these enterprising professors who've taken it upon themselves to develop their own curriculum. And that's not an easy thing to do. So we spent the past year working on the development of a curriculum that can be given away freely to anyone. So this is available today on Oracle Academy, and this was news to me just a couple weeks ago. I thought customers had to pay for Oracle Academy, and in fact, it's free if you're an accredited institution, a two-year school or four-year school or university. It's absolutely free and hosted, and all somebody has to do is come along and sign up. But we also have made this available for download today as well. So all of the materials are available for download. including the PowerPoints, including the hands-on labs, including the exercises, and this is the beauty of Oracle. Today, this is delivered with an Oracle copyright, and we're working with Oracle Legal to make this given under a Creative Commons license. That's our goal. Because my fantasy is not only do I want people to be able to take this and develop their own courseware or take a portion of it, but I look at what the folks at Pretius and Translate APEX have done in terms of reaching out to the community and encouraging people to translate portions of APEX. I would love to see this course material translated into exactly the same 40 languages that they have today. So we're working through the hoops of Oracle Legal to enable this. Also, I know we have been talking about it for a number of years, and the wheels of progress turn slowly, but we are still marching down the path of providing something called a Oracle Database Free Service. And this will be the replacement of apex.oracle.com, and it will be architected differently such that we can scale to 100,000 or 200,000, and we want to work with universities to be able to host their courses on here, and also enable anyone on the planet to build applications and run them for free. You'll be constrained by space, of course. Oracle's not going to give away the farm, but I specifically would like to target higher education and NGOs and nonprofits to be able to provide an environment for anybody to run their applications. Not just demo, but run them for real. We have our Application Express 5.2 Statement of Direction, and I'm not going to cover everything here. I'm going to touch on just a couple things. And if we look at the architecture of APEX today, it's pretty well known. You have your browser, you have your middle-tier technology, your gateway, and you have your database, and you have Application Express in that database. And for a number of customers, they don't necessarily like installing APEX in their database. And so our answer to that today is, well, you can use a database link, but database links are chatty. People don't like sometimes database links. And as well, database links don't work that well in the cloud, right? And one of the things that we want to enable is effectively, if we look at the architecture of APEX where it's at today, you would still need a database to run Application Express. We're proudly proprietary. We're proudly written in Oracle SQL and PL SQL, but that will be your middle tier, and we want you to be able to reach out to another database via Oracle REST Data Services, or easier consumption of any REST service on the planet, whether it be from Oracle or any other vendor. So Karsten and Mark and Anthony will talk about this in a little bit. So I have to, I want to get a little political dig here. In 1996, Hillary Clinton, I think a senator at the time, wrote a book called It Takes a Village. And the overarching message of this, it really was derived from an African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. And her goal in the book was really to describe not only how it's parents, but it's the larger community, it's how society can effectively grow a child, instruct them with wisdom and the like. That's not necessarily the point I'm going to take here, but I do agree that it's more than just parents who raise a child. Because I believe we've found through our experience, it takes a village to create one of these productivity applications. So I showed earlier this sophistication of this issue tracker. And it's been fascinating to look at really the skills involved to create these productivity applications. And so Mike Hitchwell, our vice president, he loves writing applications, and he leads this effort of development of the package applications. And even in the development of these, it really takes the entire team to pull this off. So he might need a little bit of Mark's time to do something. He might need Shakib to work on the layout. He'll engage me to let's work on the time zone settings or globalization. It takes our entire team to build these pixel-perfect applications. Us. Nobody knows APEX greater than us in the world. And it takes all of us collectively to build these really well-done applications. So if it takes our entire team to do this, how can you be expected to do the same thing? And if we look at the productivity applications, the package applications in APEX, it really is this complete cycle of we're building an application. Really, Mike Hitchroy himself said he doesn't like APEX, he doesn't like building the tool. He built the tool because he enjoys building applications. That's really what this is about. And it's fascinating because this really drives development of the tool itself. Unlike a lot of products where people build something and hope that customers like it, we actually use it to build applications, which then feeds back into Application Express again. And we build real applications, not necessarily dummy ones. So over time, these productivity applications, they were around even before 2008. They really have evolved. So they've helped us really evolve our, not only the features and the UI in the applications, but our coding standards, how we name things, how we build these in the applications. And then think about this, when we come up with a new standard or a new way of doing things, now we need to propagate this across the entire fleet of applications. It's a big job. And this gets us to the point of something that you'll see today called application blueprints. And this is available today in a early adopter form, if you will, and an extension on apex.oracle.com. And the goal of this is to easily enable the development of these full-featured applications. Because today, you can build a form or a report or a chart and add it. But how about if you build a cohesive application that has many features? Today, our statement is, well, you can look at these productivity applications, and if you like some of the functionality that you see, you can unlock it and copy the same functionality in your app. Pretty painful. But how about if you had the ability to add the feature itself? And so effectively elevate what you can do with APEX. So rather than these individual components, we're now focusing on this much richer, higher quality level of functionality. So this is available today on apex.oracle.com, and rather than talk about it, I'm going to show it, if I may. So the first thing that I'm going to show is, oh, and I have a URL here. I'll show this. Two URLs I'm going to go to. Obviously, hopefully everyone here knows apex.oracle.com. And I'm going to go to apex.oracle.com/QuickSQL. And this is a packaged application that ships with Application Express, but we also have it available on the internet. Okay, so now I'm going to come to QuickSQL. I will log in. And the purpose of QuickSQL, it's intended to be an easy way to develop your data model for an application. So easily go from concept to data model. It's not intended to replace SQL Developer Data Modeler, but it is intended to provide an easy way for you to build a data model using proper techniques that we've evolved in our development of our own productivity applications. So let's start typing. We know that we want to create a table to manage departments. And departments have a name. And departments have a location. And within departments, we have employees. And employees also have a name. Can I enlarge the font size? Yes? So just a second here. So let me go. Okay, thank you. So employees have a name. They might have a skill. They might also have, let's say, a city and a state and an email address. And so we can see as I'm typing in this markdown language, it is automatically creating my DDL for me. So I can see that I get my ID, my primary key. I also see that I get my foreign key between employees and departments. Following best practices, we create our index on this foreign key. And now we can do even a couple more things. So let's say location. So name, I'll make not null. If I generate this again. So location, I could say I want a check constraint on this, and I want this to be Berlin, Hamburg, Frankfurt, Munich. Right, so I get my nice check constraint. Oh, and I want location to be upper. And this is a simple markdown language here. Everything is clearly explained in syntax and examples. I could even do a view if I wish. I'll say I want a view between department and employees, and this will be departments, employees, right? So I'll get my beautifully fully qualified department view here. And then lastly, as we're expanding this concept, let's say you want some data. I can say I want to insert, since I have 4 here, I'll say I want to insert 4 rows for departments and insert, I don't care, 125. And so now what we'll do is continue evolving this script. So not only do we have our DDL, we have our triggers, and we have our sample data down here as well. There's a number of settings that you can adjust. So if I want to do this in a repeated fashion, I might want to include the drop statements. So if I say, yes, include my drop statements, we'll see at the beginning of the script, it will generate these. Let's say I'm generating this DDL to be used by an APEX application. I could say it's APEX enabled here. Oh, and I also want to include audit columns. So who created it, who updated it. So it will augment these tables. It'll augment the triggers. Notice that the syntax, if you can see this, is APEX friendly. And with this little bit of markdown, I'm generating this script that I can now start building my application. And I'm going to cheat here because I'm going to use this markdown that I've tested. Okay, so now what I want to do is take this and put this on apex.oracle.com. So I'm going to log into my workspace. I'm going to go back to Quick SQL. I'm going to copy my script, and I'm going to create a new script and run it here. Apex connect, and let's run. So that little bit of markdown I have, I've now created a 2,400 line script, and I can run it, and I can look at the results, and this happened to me last time too. And I just tested this morning. That's even the funniest thing. No problem, because my script, I'm including the drop statements. I'm going to run this again. Okay. Let's try it again. Okay. A little bit better. Okay. So it appears that everything ran okay. And in SQL Workshop here, I can browse my objects. I can see here's my departments table. I can look at the data here. And there's my sample data with my check constraint and my valid values. But now what I want to do, now that I have my data model, I now want to build an application on top of this. So I'm going to come to the application builder, and you won't see this in your local installation of Apex, but we are evolving this to feature an Application Express 5.2, and you could take this on apex.oracle.com, build your application, and deploy it elsewhere, and you'll see a new option here called Blueprint. And what I want to do, I want to create a new application using this blueprint, and I'll call my application Apex Connect. And we can see I have a home page, and I want to add an additional page. Let's say I want to add a master detail. This might take a second because apex.oracle.com is a huge database with 35,000 schemas, and the data dictionary is pretty large. I'll call this departments, and I want a master detail, and I'm going to choose the departments table, and I want to show the department name and the location, and my detail is going to be employees, and I can add multiple details here on the same page. I'm just going to say add page, and you'll see that this is an optimized version of the wizard we have today. But have we really shown you anything new other than it's easier to create these pages? And in fact, this is what's unique. If we look at now this features section here, we'll see that there are many features that we build inside our productivity applications today that you could recreate yourselves today, or with this blueprint feature, you can come along and choose what features I would like. Do you want access control? Do you want configuration options? Do you want activity reporting? How about this? You want them all. We want all these features in our application. I can choose my theme style. I can choose a new icon. Doesn't matter. And let's make this, I guess that's red. For any database objects that we create, do we want to include a prefix? And I'm just going to say create application. So we can thank Mark Ziefs for this. It's actually a pretty interesting bit of technology to be able to show this progress bar of something happening in the background. So Mark can tell you later how that was implemented. And we're done. We've now created our application, so let me run it. And so we can see here's our nice fancy Apex Connect application. If I drill down into departments, we'll see that this is our master detail. Out of the box, we're evolving this master detail implementation, so it might change in the next version on apex.oracle.com, which you might see in the next week or two. So we have our master detail, but let's look at some of the other application features that have now been added. So if I go in the administration section, let's say I want to look at the performance of my application. Who doesn't? Sure, you could build a report on this information, but why not provide it out of the box? I could say, okay, here's the default time zone for my application, and if you're using timestamps with time zones, this will work just great for you. We've enabled access control, a nice feature here. We also enabled feedback. Let's say you want to get feedback from your end users. So now if you're running this application, you could give feedback that says Apex rules. Okay, I'm the end user, but now I also have an administrative interface that lets me review this feedback. Again, these are things that we've given you the ability to do this, to build this in your application, but it's much easier just to check a box and create it. So a couple other nice things about the blueprint feature that I'd like to show is obviously we create some database objects in the background here, and when we create one of these blueprint applications, we also include all of the scripts associated with those. So now if I go and drop my application, all of the database objects that we created for you will also be dropped. And the other nice thing is, let's say this wasn't exactly what I wanted. Let's say I want to create a new application. And I'll do another blueprint. And now if I say I want to load a blueprint, and here's a blueprint that I created 3 minutes ago. And this effectively is just a small JSON document that you could even author this outside of Application Express. And the ultimate vision is, rather than even go through the GUI of Apex to build your application, you provide us the definition in this JSON document, take SQL CL, combine it with your data model and the blueprint, and away you go. You create your application. Obviously, at some point in time, you're going to start adding code to your application, so you won't be able to go through this iterative process, but you can refine it, and then once you get it to the feature set that you want, then you can go on extending your application. So it's out there today, and Mark's going to touch on this a little bit as well. So, in summary, I like to believe that Apex was first to the market, started back in 1999, cloud in 2002. I like to think that the industry and Oracle caught up to us. We've called it declarative for years, but the positioning of it as low-code or high productivity very much resonates with the market. And the point I want to make as well, RAD sounded cheap to professional developers. Low-code should resonate with professional developers as well, because low-code means you don't have to worry about the mundane aspects of your app. You can focus on the business problem at hand. And so our team in general is working very hard, both on cloud and in Application Express, to really rapidly evolve and stay ahead of our competition. So the other thing I wanted to say is I think that the Apex community is a model for all others to behold inside Oracle, and we would not be successful without this large, energetic, passionate community. So I thank all of you. Thank you.